Hello everybody and welcome back to the Talking Wolves podcast for the first podcast of the 25-26 season. My name is Dave Azzopardi. Delighted to have two co-hosts alongside me today. We've got Mr. Jordan Russell and Finn Morris as well. Boys, it's great to be back. It's great to have you back as well. Jord, how you been keeping? Enjoyed your summer so far? What have you been up to?
Yeah, no, it's been a good summer so far. Been playing a lot of golf, which is no surprise to a lot of the people that listen to this podcast. Getting my handicap down though, which is really good. So I've now got myself down to 16.5. So I'm quite happy about that. And I'm off to Scotland next week to play for a few days as well. So I'm playing a lot of golf. Obviously saw you a couple of times, Dave, over the summer as well with some charity football games, and then I saw you in the Desi pub before Warsaw, for the Lens game as well. So, yeah, not been strangers to each other. But yeah, no, good summer. Glad to be back, and I want to say looking forward to the season, but I'd be lying.
Yeah.
To be quite honest.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it, to be fair. But mine, 16.5 handicap, whatever you said, I'll pretend I know what that means, but I assume is that decent? Is that okay? Is it? I don't
know. It's getting better, put it like
Yeah.
that. So, like, basically, yeah. So I get 16.5 shots over par basically per round. So I think the average handicapper is around just over 18 globally. That is. So it is. So it's getting. I've gone from shit golfer to less than shit golfer. So
That's good. Finn, it's good to have you back as well. I saw you before the Celta Vigo game as well on Saturday in the new 1877 bar, which I think we could probably mention later on in the pod as well. How you been keeping now? We didn't catch up too much last season, but it's good to have you back on.
Yeah. Well, that was the first preseason game I'd gone to, so I had a lovely, blissfully unaware summer, and then it's all come crashing down. Seeing you was the highlight of yesterday. Was it even yesterday, day before? No, what day? Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah, when this out, it's Monday, but it was Saturday we saw each other, yeah. Yesterday.
Yeah, because I don't know when the last time I've been on here either, because I know my predictions last year were horrendous, but luckily I wasn't here to face up to them, so I'll just try and do the same this year if they're just as bad.
No, it's all good. Any glamorous holidays been done or lined up, or...?
No, parents went to Cornwall without me. We managed to get involved in that one last year. Didn't get the invite back, so must not have impressed on loan. But no, have I been anywhere? No. Quick trip to Wales at one point. That's about it.
That's it. That's all. Well, we've got the football. Well, the football to look forward to, and as well, you mentioned football, George, because we played a charity game a few weeks ago. We have got the Wolves Content Creators Cup as well, which it's going to come around quick. It's less than a month away now. And Talking Wolves are the current holders. I think it's going to be a very, very tough competition this year. But obviously, you two are part of the team again this year. Both returning actually, because you weren't part of it last year. So if we don't win, we know who we can blame this time around. But no, I think everyone's going to up the ante. I think the competition's going to be tougher than ever, but I'm sure we'll talk about that on the channel and on the podcast within the next few weeks as well. But we'll jump into it, boys. Obviously ahead of the 25-26 season, it's all pretty much doom and gloom. Social media is a difficult place to be right now. I mean, even scrolling through it today, I was like, what am I doing looking through this? But preseason hasn't been fantastic for Wolves. They've ended up winless. Two obviously behind closed door games in Portugal. One finished as a defeat, then the other one was a draw against Burnley. And I'll try and get this in the right order. I think it was the Stoke game, was it? Yeah, Stoke 1-1. Lens we lost for 2-1.
Yeah.
3-1. Yeah, 3-1. Sorry, 3-1. Girona 2-1, and then yesterday Celta Vigo 1-0 defeat. So, Jordan, your opinion? I mean, pre-season, it's very easy to get a little bit overexcited about. Of course, you want a little bit of momentum. You want to see us winning games. Wolves haven't won, Jord, but the performances haven't really helped Wolves' cause, I think, this pre-season either.
Not at all. I think it's got to be heavily caveated that pre-season does mean nothing, right? And I think whether you go and win if we won all 6 of these games, or we lost all 6 of these games, it's not going to really have much of a bearing on how you're going to do in the Premier League next season. You don't get anything for it, right? So I think the fact that it's minutes in the legs, it's starting to get some of the new players into the system. Trying to work out a few positions and styles and patterns of play and all that sort of stuff. I think I can't get too down on it, but at the same time, I'm so not enthused about this season and what I'm seeing. There's no even like glimmer of hope really. I think Lens is the only one that I watched the majority of. And even then, I left like just before the end. I sound like Matt Cooper, but I left because I was like, I've got to get out of here. I was just bored, and I just think there's what's really annoyed me or irked me about this summer is there was such a feel good factor around Vita Pereira, especially after winning 6 games in a row. It felt like we were sort of getting back a little bit to, dare I say it, the Nuno days a little bit, where it just felt like we had a bit of momentum. There's a guy who's bought in, seemed like the squad had bought in. And I think that it's just been a bit of a damp squid, really, through pre-season. And I think, again, it's not just Wolves that are struggling to buy players. I think anyone that's in and around our sort of stature in the Premier League right now, I'd say Fulham, Brentford, Crystal Palace, Everton. There's so many of them who are really struggling to get players, and dare I say, Everton are starting to get a few over the line now. But it just feels like we're leaving the business too late, and I don't necessarily think that's Foden get a lot of stick. Jeff Shee gets a lot of stick. I'm not a massive fan of some things they've done, and I think they can back us a lot more than what they have done in more so recent years. But I think it's a bit. I don't think it's fair to say that it's not just Wolves that are struggling to buy players at the moment in this window. And I feel like they're getting beat by a shitty stick a little bit. That the market's slow, but at the same time, Vita Pereira would want these players in as early as possible. And I thought once we got Fer Lopez in, obviously Strand Larsen was turned into a permanent. We knew Cunha and Aitneri were going likely to be leaving. The fact that we got those sales done pretty quickly as well, it was. I think all Wolves fans thought business would have carried on in that sort of manner, but it just seems to have completely slowed down, barring John Arias coming in.
Yeah, I think the frustration. I do side with you a little bit on that transfer front there. We'll probably talk about transfers a little bit in a little bit more detail later on as well. But I do side with you. I think there are teams struggling, but for me, I think when Cunha and Aitnori going so early in the window, I think you have to have. Well, it's frustrating now because as we talk right now, you could argue both of those players have been replaced. With Arias for Cunha and Muller-Wolf for Aitnori. So maybe those are frustrating one because I think when someone as influential as that as your captain, you should have had someone lined up. And obviously the contract offer saga, which I saw people blaming Matt Hobbs for. He wasn't even part of he would have been known he was going before that contract offer was even put on the table. So that would have been on Jeff Shee who put that contract offer forward. Players like that should have been replaced. They should have had a right wing back in early. As soon as the players are back or ready to be back in July and Semedo hadn't said yes, they should have just pulled the trigger on someone and had that done. But I think in regards to bolstering the squad depth and stuff, I do agree with you. It's been very difficult to purchase players. I think going back to pre-season, I think to be fair, the calibre of team Wolves have played, it's not like we're dropping, poor performances against League One, League Two sides. These are good top 5 league sides that we're playing. Bar Stoke, who were sort of a week or so ahead of us in their schedule anyway, and obviously started off the season quite strongly yesterday as well. As well. But these are teams that are probably in and around our level anyway, and I don't think we've embarrassed ourselves, but at the same time, they've just been little elements. I mean, you were there at the Celta Vigo game yesterday. At times, we looked fairly comfortable on the ball, but pretty much the story of every game is we just didn't do anything with it. Just going forward, it was almost as if it was sort of Lopetegui, Bruno Lage, where we just really struggled to score goals.
Yeah, I've managed to watch a lot of them, to be fair, saying it was the only one I was present at yesterday.
Yeah.
There was the one, was it Santa Clara we lost to, which maybe are a little bit of a lower calibre team, but that's like a month ago, isn't it? They're the ones you really don't
first
pay
game
attention
as well,
to.
wasn't it?
Yeah. And it is important to say, what Jord said, in that I was watching at 2:00 in the morning in bed, watching Rodrigo Gomez look like the next Messi last season. And then obviously the season plays out a different way. So you do have to take it with a pinch of salt, but I think it's the performances more than the results, because you've seen, I think Villa are going to have a good season, and they've been beaten 3-1 yesterday, and they're not going crazy because we're going crazy on the face of it of a 1-0 loss. But it's that consistency of just drabness in the friendlies. And I think we've taken every loss, every draw on the chin, and going, oh no, but it'll be better next week. It's a week till the season now. Surely Celta Vigo, they're going to show something, and it was just pedestrian. And then even you first half, you go and go, oh maybe they'll step it up second half, and it was just really, really uninspiring.
Yeah.
I think Fer Lopez was maybe a positive to come out of it. Not sold on Wolfer, although if he took a whack to the head 10 minutes in or whatever, it can affect that first performance. So yeah, I'm not taking massive judgments, but it's just the overall feeling. I think, like George said, when you've got Vitor as sort of the head of your renewing season tickets and come with me, the feeling's good. And as you say, even like when we got Neto out early last year, it was okay, we've got time to replace him. And then if you listen to Fab, it was Forbes that was the replacement there. That was pretty last minute. I mean, most of us knew that wasn't really the case. But Cunha, Nori, I remember you saying, David, it's a positive that we've got them out now because we've got so much time, and it just feels like, we're really faffing. And then even on players when they're saying, oh, we're not going for them because they want relegation release clauses, it's not commitment to the cause. Mate, I'd want one. Even if I'm a Wolves fan, if I was tried to sign for Wolves tomorrow, I might even try and get one of them in, because if you look at the odds, as Gary O'Neill always used to do famously, we're in and around it. So I don't blame them. So I think we're going to struggle now. Like you said, lots of teams are struggling. But bar Brentford, they've all sort of stood still. I feel like we've gone back. We've sold those key players and not brought anyone in. Fulham, not brought anyone in, but they haven't sold any of those key players either. So yeah, it's worrying times. I think we might have a January-esque end to the season in that they normally panic in January. They may have to panic in these last few weeks now after seeing what we've seen, which is the only positive, I guess. But if you're bringing them in final week of the transfer window, that's probably 9 points that have gone. You could have been a quarter of the way to staying up already. I mean, Man City at home, granted, but yeah, it's just been a really, really frustrating summer.
Yeah, if you consider, you mentioned a couple of teams there. You consider some of who I would class as the Wolves' Premier League rivals. I mean, we could include Forest in that. Forest this pre-season, 7 games, they've scored just 1 goal and 0 wins. So Forest haven't won a game this pre-season, well, albeit 5 of those 7 were 0-0 draws. Fulham have had a productive pre-season, like you mentioned there, Finn. They're frustrated at the lack of transfer activity, but they've kept the core of their squad. They've had 3 games, 3 wins. Burnley have only won 1 of 4 games. Leeds haven't won in pre-season. Everton haven't won in pre-season. West Ham have been okay. So all of those are like official games rather than sort of behind closed door games. So Wolves aren't the only team in this boat where we're struggling. But obviously, watching the games, it's the level of performance that has been frustrating. But like I said earlier, I still think that the level of opposition, we have to take that into account a little bit. And I think, Jord, next week we'll talk about City in a little bit more depth. It'll be a different test anyway. I mean, we watched the game yesterday. Wolves were on the front foot and actually played quite a high line because Celta Vigo got in behind quite a number of times. The City game is going to almost be a completely different test anyway, because they're going to have probably 60 to 70% plus possession. Wolves will play deep, completely different to how we played in the pre-season. And you could argue it could suit Wolves. I'm already seeing people thinking we're going to lose 3-4, 5-0. But I think that could genuinely work in our favour next week against City.
Yeah, I think the fact that people are sort of saying we can get we're going to get battered next week. I don't necessarily see that myself, that we're going to get battered. I think, like you say, I think we'll be naturally a bit deep because it's Man City. Might suit us a little bit more to have a bit of counter, to be on the counter a little bit. Mm-hmm. The one thing I would say though is where we've had a counter punch in years gone by with Wolves, it's because we've had a lot of sort of pace on the break. And that's something that we're lacking in this team massively. I sort of said it at the end of last season. That's something we needed. And that was with Cunha and Semedo still around and Aït-Nouri. So I think, again, I'm saying naturally, I feel like we haven't really addressed that either. I do think it'll suit us a little bit, to be honest with you, next week. I think the worst thing that could happen to Wolves right now is, and it sounds very cliche, but say we had Burnley at home next week. And it was like, right, we're going to go. We should be beating them, putting our stamp on the season, win comfortably by a couple of goals. That's a game that would be a complete banana skin for us at the minute, because I just don't see us breaking teams down and that sort of pattern and style of play. And I think that Man City, they've just come back. They were at the Club World Cup. Granted, they didn't get as far as Chelsea in it, but they've had a longer summer. Rodri's not going to be playing again. He'll still, for me, he's still, the Ballon d'Or winner for a reason last year. So it's going to be a big loss for them. Like, City weren't great shapes last season compared to City's gone by. So I do think that they'll give you chances, but we need to keep it so tight. And I think actually the only one positive about Wolves throughout all this window at the moment I see with the existing playing squad is we've kept the spine there and the core of the spine as well. So you still got Sarr, you still got Agbadu at the base of it. You still got Andre and Gomez, and we waxed lyrical about them most shows that we were on here, and we've got Strand Larson still as well. So the spine of the team is still really strong. But for me, contradicting what other people might think, and I've seen posts about it online, is when you're playing 3-4-3, 5-3-2, whatever you want to call it, or 5-3, 5-2-3, whatever. Wing backs are pivotal to what you're doing, and that they give you the width. I think when Chelsea won the league under Conte, they had a good team, but Victor Moses and Marcus Alonso were two of the best players in that team because they were giving them width and balance and everything about it. And at the moment, watching Wolves, we haven't got that. We've lost Semedo and Aitnery, who are, like, for me, very good in both their positions, and Keanu Hova and Hugo Bueno are a million miles off it. And I know we just brought Marla Wolf in, and again, I thought he was okay. I didn't really think, I didn't look at him and go, yeah, it fills me with confidence. So I think massively, and I know we talk about transfers in a bit, but wing backs for me, it's key that we get a right wing back in because, yeah, Keanu Hova's a million miles off it.
Speaking of, Dave, did you realise, or how long did it take you to realise that Marcus Alonso was in their back three at the weekend?
Yesterday, didn't
he? Yeah.
I think I was too distracted by the guy with pink hair, to be fair, at left back.
Yeah.
But yeah, Marcus Alonso played left of the back three for them, did he? Or left of the defence. Yeah, they got some good players, to be fair. Celta Vigo, obviously Aspas still playing as well. I mean, they took their goal really well. I think Wolves will be disappointed from a defensive point of view about how easy they conceded that, because it's very direct. So it's what concerns me, Jord. I think that you're right with it. The core, the squad is still there, which is good. I think Sarr is still getting. I don't know. Obviously, there's been opinions about Sarr. I think he improved massively second half of the season, and I think he's still getting a lot of stray bullets. I think I'm as we speak right now, I'm pretty confident still with him in goal. Agbadu, I hope next week sort of goes back to the player we saw second half of last season, because he has looked a little bit shaky. But you're right, João Gomes and Andre have looked very good throughout pre-season. Strand Larson struggled a little bit, but I think that's not just his own fault. I think the service and so on has struggled around him. But the wing back, you're right. Muller Wolford, it's very hard for us to write him off after just watching him for 45 minutes. But the right wing back, that is a massive, massive role. And Wolves have made no secret that they've wanted to fill it. They've looked at 2 or 3 different options, come close to 1 or 2, and obviously some haven't come to fruition. But I was intrigued. I was open to giving Keanu Hoover an opportunity, and I don't think he's put a foot wrong too much, but he hasn't proved anything. He hasn't shown that, I should be the number 1 right wing back in this team. So that is what the concern is, really. So I think you're right. My other concern is, though, if they do go and sign one this week, say they don't sign one to sort of Wednesday, Thursday, is a new right wing back just going to walk straight into that team on Saturday? Probably not. So he's then got a decision of, does he play Rodrigo Gomez or Keanu Hoover? And at the moment, it looks like Keanu Hoover, just because he seems to be getting the nod ahead of Rodrigo at the moment. But yeah, it's a little bit of a frustrating pre-season. But I'm sure Vitor will be happy. Well, not happy, but will rather the club be making mistakes and then putting in poor performances now, and hopefully can iron all those issues out going into next week when the season kicks off. But Jord, I agree with you. I think next week against City, it's not a free hit as such, but I think the expectations are a lot lower in terms of results and so on. So I think you can go into that game with a little bit less pressure on you than if it were a team such as Leeds or Burnley or so on. But I think going back to what Jord said with City in the Club World Championship without Rodri, you'd hope there's a level of rustiness, but of course, this is Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. They're going to have a point to prove after missing out on the title last season. So, I mean, it's a pretty tricky test to kick off the season, isn't it?
Yeah, I do see that point in, at least there's not there's not too much pressure on it to win. Although I feel like every time we go into Man City at home, I always think we're going to get battered, and then we've had some
The last two,
really
the
nice
last two
results in the
games
last
at
few
mine,
years.
you've been very close. Obviously, we won the one, and then last year we lost out very late on.
Yeah, and it's always one where I go to put Haaland. Like I've done it today with Salah not playing very well. I've swapped to Haaland in my FPL because I think, Wolves have looked shocking, and I think I triple captained him once. It was sacrilege, really, but and he did nothing, so I jinxed him. But yeah, I always seem to go into this thinking we're going to get battered, which I do currently. And as I say, yeah, it doesn't normally turn out like that, thankfully. But I get you are right in that we've played good teams in pre-season, but probably not good enough that we've practiced the sort of the two banks of five and counter. So maybe we will look a little bit sharper there. But as you say, we used to have a Neto or an Adama or Cunha or someone as an outlet, and there wasn't much pace in that team in the friendly at the weekend. So I can't see anything. I still think it's probably going to be a 3 or a 4, and then we lead to a few panic signings. However, at least it's getting that one out the way, if that's another positive, I guess, because it's one of the more unlikely ones while we've got a weaker squad. I don't know. Yeah, the Rodri thing, I did see that and perk up a little bit when that announced a few days ago that his injury's gone on a bit longer. Although Reinders looks like he's taken to that midfield like a duck to water from the pre-season friendly the other day as well. And it just the options they've got are scary. I mean, their two fullbacks may well be former Wolves players. One getting booed, one getting cheered, probably. And that front four, I don't know who, because I wanted to add more of them to my FPL, and I don't know who that 3 behind Haaland is going to be. But either way, it's not looking good, I don't think.
Yeah, you would hope, Jord, that we can just get an ounce of encouragement from this performance, regardless of the result, because you look at the rest of the fixtures between sort of now and November, and they're really favourable for Wolves. I think, we got Bournemouth, Everton, Newcastle, arguably tough game, Leeds, and then you're going towards sort of the end of October. You still got Sunderland and Burnley to play, sort of this first sort of quarter of the season. So there's points there for Wolves to have, and there's an opportunity there if they can sort of if everything falls into place quick enough. There's an opportunity there where Wolves could keep themselves out of trouble, in the early stages of the season. But it's going to be a tricky game, but. Before the game, and we saw it at the Celta Vigo, they paid tribute to Diogo Jota and Andre Silva. They're going to be doing the same again against Manchester City, and Wolves have published details of that. They're going to play Fields of Gold by Sting before the game, which I think it will be a really emotional one. But Jord, I think that can not that we should need it, but that is going to be an element of emotion before the game, and I think that could really give Wolves almost a 12th man. The atmosphere has potential to be fantastic for Wolves, and things like that where the fan base and the club come together before the opening game of the season, where things look like they're against us, that could flip the other way around, and that could really help us going into the City game.
Yeah, I think Wolves opening game of the season, 5:30 kickoff. It looks like it's going to be a very sunny Saturday as well. It feels like it could be like a real. I think people will be bang up for it, and like you say, I think the Diogo Jota tribute. It's going to be really supercharged. Molineux is, I think, on Saturday, and I think that hopefully they can use that in a positive way and use that to spur them on a little bit, because I do think everyone's going to be bang up for it, and I think it's going to be quite a solemn minute silence, I think, and then like I say, I think that news is still for me still so saddening and horrific, and I think it's still really raw. And there's going to be a couple Portuguese internationals on the Man City side of the fence as well, and how they're feeling about it, and whether their heads are completely in football as well, who knows, right? But I just think 5:30 at Molineux, TV cameras on. I think it will be a real loud atmosphere, and the flip of that is if we go 2-3-0 down, which again I'm not saying I can see that happening, but if we do start taking a bit of a hammering, I think that it will get toxic pretty quickly as well. So I think you've got two ends of the spectrum where it can get it could be rocking or it could get nasty quickly, and I think there's obviously been a lot of talk about people opposing Foden and Jeff Shea and all that sort of stuff, but I think Vita Pereira and the feel-good factor around Vita Pereira at the back end of last season sort of got them off the hook a little bit. But I think, if we have a real poor start to the season, it may not necessarily be Man City, but it could be a catalyst from the back of the Man City game. Molineux could turn nasty. I do think it could turn quite nasty towards Foden and Jeff Shee potentially if we do take a bit of a spanking, because I think people are at their wits' end with it. I think.
Yeah, and I agree. I think he tried to get going a little bit at the Celta Vigo game yesterday in terms of chance towards him, but never, as it is in a pre-season game. Not a huge sold out crowd and certain people not in the normal seats, so it never really got going. To be fair, but no, I think you're right. I have, as everyone that listens to this podcast regularly, I'm probably too positive at times, and I think we will give Manchester City a game. But I do agree there is still that potential that they come out the blocks flying, and they've got the quality, they've added quality, they've got points to prove. It could be a long evening for Wolves, and in that case, it could go toxic very quickly. But opening game of the season, I'm hoping that Vitor can use this pre-season as sort of a huge lesson. And I'm hoping that we can add one or two players to that squad as well before then. Before we move on, though, as well, it's brilliant to partner back up with Betmate again. If you are old school listeners to the podcast, you remember we worked with Betmate a couple of years ago. We had some great fun with them as well. But we're back with them for the first part of the new season, and you can get involved. I'll make sure I leave a link at the top of the description. There will be lots of private pots to get involved in for the Wolves versus City game, whether it's a bet builder and you could choose how you think different scenarios in the game will work out for your chance to win some money, or just the old school fantasy game like we used to play where you'd pick 7 players, I think it was. Yeah, 7 players from both teams, and you get points. And if you finish top, obviously you'll win a share of the prize money as well. So I'll make sure to leave a link to that if you want to get involved. And on the channel and all the socials this week, we'll keep you updated with which different pots there will be as well. We'll move on, gents, to the transfers now as well. We mentioned it earlier on, Mateus Cunha, Ryan Aït-Nouri, Nelson Semedo, Pablo Sarabia, probably the highest profile exits. Obviously, we lost Craig Dawson as well, who left on a free. Finn, in terms of players coming in, it has been slow. Wolves have got some deals done. Jurgen Strand-Larsen came in on a permanent, which we knew was going to happen. Fer Lopez, John Arias, and then David Muller-Wolf most recently as well. I think we all know that Wolves still need to get players in. Although the first 11 is okay, I think there's 1 or 2 positions that still need to be strengthened. The overall depth of the squad is alarmingly poor, I think, at the moment. I tend to look at that bench and think, right, who am I going to pick to bring on and change the game? And probably other than Jean-Ric Bellegarde, I'm struggling to see the quality coming off the bench at the moment, to be honest. But, I mean, from those players, obviously we've only seen 45 minutes of Muller-Wolf, but Jean Arias, Fer Lopez, are you sort of impressed with what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I think my expectations going into the game were to be incredibly impressed by Arias and maybe sort of level-headed on Fer Lopez, and it probably flipped. Although Arias in that, if you just watch that clip of the goal in Girona, he just looks like, I don't know, he looked unbelievable. Looked like Sylvain Ebanks-Blake, but with 10 yards extra pace. So I think he is going to be one of those ones where they just bounce off him. Who's the player in the moment? Not a Wolves player, but they just bounce. John McGinn, isn't it? Where they say they bounce off his behind. I was getting that vibe from Arias. He looks so strong. So yeah, that low centre of gravity and the strength could be a real asset. But yeah, he didn't do much at the weekend and was pretty impressed with Fer Lopez. Again, if that's your 2 for the entire season, I haven't seen anything that's going to... I don't think either of them are grabbing 15 goals at the current rate. And as you see, like the few victims of the Club World Cup already, like Levi Colwill with the ACL. I don't know when the Brazilian league runs, actually, but I'm so scared that at some point in the season that's going to have caught up with him and there'll be a big injury to Arias. And then it's sort of, what now? Because I don't know who fills it in there. As you say, maybe Bellegarde. And then if Wang goes, you've got no depth whatsoever. So... yeah, it's the core is the only promising thing, as George said. They always said you need that core down the middle, and we've got that, and we haven't lost anyone, and I'm pretty confident with them all. Obviously, that Newcastle rumour isn't going away with Strand-Larsen, but you'd hope that's not going to happen. So I think it's the wing backs are key. Especially, I saw a difference in that friendly of how the wing backs were being used. They were literally... Now we've got sort of weaker attacking wing backs. They were higher and wider than they seem to used to be, ironically. So I want those improved, and then I think we just about stay up. As you say, Agbadou's had some sort of Freaky Friday situation in these friendlies, but hopefully he goes back to himself. And that back line, I think, is more than good enough to stay up. So the core is there. You just need to sprinkle in those improvements, and we should have the money there because, as you say, I think we're on a net profit again this summer at the moment. So you'd like to see that. Would you say improve or get worse almost to spend a bit of money and get those players in? Because, as you say, no game changers on the bench and not too much inspiration in that starting 11 either.
But in terms of numbers then for you, Jord, between now and the end of the window, how many players do you think we'll still need to be bringing in to strengthen this team and make sure it's competitive for at least the first half of the campaign?
I think we need 4. I really do. If we get 4 or not, I'm not sure. Will we get 4 before Man City? Absolutely not. I think the one place for me is right wing back is the most glaringly obvious place and position we need someone like. I'm sorry, like this Keanu Hova experiment just ain't doing it for me. Like he's just a million miles off it. Unfortunately, he's had loans, not stuck around anywhere, and we brought him in maybe out of desperation, really. But the drop off from Nelson Tomato to Keanu Hova is scary, really, really scary. So I think definitely we need a right wing back and we need one sharpish. I think we need a centre midfielder who can come in to compete with Andre and Gomez. And it's really tricky, to be honest with you, because those two are that great that whoever's coming in probably isn't going to play. And they've got to be happy with that. And I think that's sort of possibly the reason that's happened with Tommy Doyle going out on loan and Boubacar Traoré. It just stunts their growth by sitting behind them two for another season. So I think they feel like they're okay with if one of them go down right now that Bellegarde can go and play in there or Manetzi. But we definitely need some quality in there for me that can compete with those two and be able to rotate them around. I think we need another inverted forward, number 10, whatever you want to call it. I think Hwang looks like he'll be going out. Vita Pro doesn't fancy him whatsoever. I think it's probably time for him to move on as well. I think his time's sort of ran out at the club. But if you're getting rid of him, we need some depth there because I think it's unfair to expect John Arias and Fer Lopez, who are brand new signings, to come in, hit the ground running from the off. I think Fer Lopez looks a good player. The one thing for me straight away reminds me of a little bit of Pablo Sarabia. I think his problem's going to be he hasn't got that electric pace to get away from people, but I think his touch and how he controls and manoeuvres a ball is fantastic. And then we need just need someone to compete with Strand Larson as well. Seems like Sasa just won't be hanging around. I think he had a decent cameo yesterday, but I don't think Vita Pereira fancies him. Again, someone that needs to go and get some minutes because he's not played football for about 3 years, let's be honest. So he needs to go and play football. So I think we desperately need 4. Whether we get 4 or not before the end of this window, I'm not sure. But if we can't get all those targets, I think for me we need a right wing back desperately, and I would want another forward coming in who can possibly cover number 10 and play and give like Strand Larson some help. But for me, I would go for another number 10 and a right wing back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, I think, because there's still probably some parts of the jigsaw that need to be put in place. I think Fabio is one of those as well. Again, with the squad yesterday, got off the coach with the squad yesterday, but wasn't part of the team. I think he's still not fully fit, but obviously there's a lot of stories about him. But if the club can get sort of 20 to 25 million for him, I think that frees up so much more budget again. And I think you can make more moves in the market. But I think very interesting what you said, Jordan, in regards to the midfield. I don't think they should have let both of Boubacar and Tommy Doyle go without somebody lined up and ready. Like you said, they may be comfortable with Jean-Luc Bellegarde and Manetzi being the backup holding midfielders. But I think that's been the story of the transfer window. That other than the right wing-back spot, I don't think any other spot in the team is guaranteed at the moment. So you're trying to convince someone to join a team that aren't exactly an attractive proposition right now to probably be third or maybe even fourth choice in some cases. So that's the difficulty really. And that's why I think towards the end of the window, that's where Jorge Mendes can work his magic. That's where it'll be interesting to see how Teti gets on. Can he find the players that are wanting moves or happy to move out on loan? I don't know. So I think I know it's been doom and gloom, but how many times have we done transfer podcasts or transfer live streams? And with about a week of the window to go, everyone says it's like the worst transfer window ever, and then people are ranking it at 7 or 8 out of 10 by the end of the next week. So I think that there's still potential there. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't think obviously the performances, the sort of overall. I've never seen social media or the wall space so negative before. I think it is getting towards boiling point for Fosun, and again, I've never been a full on sort of 100% Fosun out, but and I've probably sided with them way too much in the past as well. But I don't think they can let this carry on much longer. If we have another 12 months of where they're really struggling to allow this football team to progress, and if we stay in the Premier League by the skin of our teeth again, I think there will have to be serious conversations this time next year about their ownership and how they're running this football club. Especially as they've had sort of the whole senior restructure and things just haven't really changed. It's like the same old, same old. I was told yesterday that even, you would say Kyle Walker-Peters, I don't mean he's the best. He's not going to be the best right back in the league, but would have been a sensible signing for Wolves. Josh Brownhill at this point would be a sensible signing for Wolves. Under Matt Hobbs, both those deals would have been lined up and ready. Apparently, they'd lined up Walker-Peters anyway, early part of the summer if Semedo were to move on, and obviously because Hobbs moved on, that they haven't come to fruition. So I think Brownhill would still be a sensible signing now, but Wolves need to be getting their eggs in their basket sooner rather than later. I'm hoping this time next week, boys, we can have a conversation. It's a lot more, cheery. We've brought in a couple of players, or things are imminent, and we've got a positive result against City. You never know, but it's a lot of work still to be done. It's not over. The transfer window's still open. Still lots of time to spend money and correct things, but there are a lot of people on the backs of the club at the moment as well. Finn, Jord mentioned Fair Lopez there. I'm actually pleasantly surprised with him as well. I just hope we're not shoehorning him in too quickly. I think we've had that too many times with younger players before where they're clearly not ready, but there's definitely some level of talent there, isn't there? I think even yesterday against Celta Vigo, probably one of the brighter players on the pitch from a Wolves perspective.
Yeah, and it might flatter him because he's probably playing against opposition, not only that he's used to playing with.
So when you got your girlfriend in the stadium and you got to play, out your skin,
But maybe against Spanish opposition, he's gonna look better with his style, as you say. If it's, I don't know. To be fair, I thought he'd come in and get, I don't know. I was thinking like some English left back would just easily knock him off the ball. And he looks a little bit stronger than I thought he was going to be. But as you say, that burst of pace. He's more in that sort of Spanish wide forward, Sarabia, Juan Matas sort of mould, albeit a lot taller. He looks a lot taller in person than I expected. But yeah, really pleased again. It's another, as I say, technically good Spanish player to come in, and I didn't think he'd be anywhere near the starting 11, and now I'm not mad at all if he starts against Man City. I think, it is one of those where you don't want to overplay him. Have like a Fabio Silva situation where you play him when he's not quite ready. I remember the first season with Neto, and I'd said to you guys that I wasn't convinced at all, and then you slowly integrate him in and look what they blossom into. So, I hope it's more of a Neto situation than that early season Fabio. But, I'm quite pleased with that one.
Yeah, definitely. Right, boys, we're going to move on to the scariest /fun part of the pre-season previews, the predictions. To be fair, we normally do okay with some of these. I think we've never, the hot takes are normally a little bit crazy, but I've sort of narrowed that down just to one hot take this time around. But we're going to go for the Wolves top scorer, the most assists, Wolves final league position, and one Premier League hot take. So, Jord, we'll kick off with you. Who are you going for your top scorer?
Probably all three of us will go for the same person, but I'll go for Jørgen Strand Larsen.
Yeah, I'm with that as well. Finn, are you the same?
Yeah, the only thing is it's more of an FPL chat as well. Who's going to have pens, Arias or Strand Larsen? If we ever,
we didn't get a pen all last season.
Yeah. We've got to get we need to get over the halfway line first, Finn.
Yeah. That's the only thing that could maybe influence if Arias has pens. And as you say, we cross that dreaded white line in the middle. But I've gone Strand Larsen as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Most assists, Jord?
I've gone John Arias because I think he will take set pieces. And again, there's not a lot else really to go with. I wanted to be a little bit different and say Moller Wolf, but after the 45 minutes on Saturday, and I'm absolutely not writing him off. I didn't really see a lot of him really, even where I thought he could get a few assists this season. So yeah, no, I'm going to stick with John Arias because boringly, I think he'll take set plays and set pieces for us.
Finny, you the same, or you gone someone different?
Yeah, I haven't actually written this one down because I was just going to do it on the night, as I say. My hipster one was going to be João Gomez, but I think set pieces probably will swing it to Arias. But just to be a little bit different, let's go João Gomez.
I was going to go Arias as well, but another thing to help that, I know we haven't scored bags of goals this preseason. From corners, we've looked really good. Like, I think Girona, we had 2 or 3 within a 5 or 10 minute spell last week where we came really close to putting one in. And then yesterday we had 1 or 2 against Vic. I think Agbadu had one, and it was a really smart save off the goalkeeper. But even towards the end of last season, we scored against Palace. I mean, it wasn't a great performance overall, but we scored against Palace from a set piece. But this preseason, we've actually looked pretty solid off those. And Arias looks like he's got a really decent delivery. But on the flip side of that, if he somehow manages to solidify his place in the team and he stays, Hugo Bueno was taking a few good set pieces as well. And he seems to have a little bit of venom on his cross as well. So be interesting if he manages to play. But I think Arias is probably a safe bet for that question, to be honest. Final league position then, Jord.
I'll stick with what I put in 4-4-2, which is out now in all reputable stores if you want to have a little read of that, and Paul Berry. I put 14th. Now, do I think that right now on the Sunday before the start of the season? No, but I do think we'll get some players coming, and I'm sort of I still think we're better than the promoted 3. I think Brentford's squad looks gash right now as well. So you know what? I think
that's the Brentford saying as well.
Yeah, Brentford are gash. Clip it. So I think 14th. I do think we'll get a couple players in. Might be blind optimism that Fosen will pull the finger out of the metaphorical arse and sign some players, but I do think we'll get some in. And I think we'll come 14th. Whether that constitutes a good season or not, that's up for debate, right? But I think we'll come 14th.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people at home will probably be frustrated, but it's the truth, unfortunately. I think I'd probably go about 15th as well, around that sort of area. Finn, what do you reckon?
If you're following that graph that's been going around in the last few days, which just makes horrible viewing, it's got to be 17th, 18th, 19th, or 20th, hasn't it? So it's got to be 7. I'm going to go 17th because it's the most positive one of the options, but data doesn't lie. It's regressing one way.
Yeah, I mean, I hope not. I don't think my heart rate... I mean, I got stressed out during the game when we played Portman Road last year. I don't think I could cope with anything else where, we're sort of flirting with relegation. Like, I would take 14th, 15th now if it just meant that we were never looking over our shoulder throughout the season. One of those seasons, just always around that point. But you got a nice cushion above the bottom. I mean, it's a bit boring. It's quite underwhelming, really, when you think about it. For the first 3 or 4 years we were in the Premier League, we were always talking about pushing for Europe again. I think maybe we set our sights and our expectations too high and sort of we overachieved, and that sort of skewed our expectation of what to expect in the Premier League. I don't know, but who knows? Jord, one Premier League hot take then for us.
So I've thought about this because, like I say, we normally have 3, so we can get a little bit fun with them. But the fact it's 1, I'm going to go with Everton get less than 5 home Premier League wins at the new stadium
in the Harry Hill, David Dickinson.
You cannot beat a good Everton boo, and I can't wait to hear it ringing around the stadium.
I mean, if Matt was here, he'd say they'd get like Champions League because he's got some weird little fetish for Everton.
He's a scouser, and that's why.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've got a feeling they'll have a good campaign. But saying that, like you said with their transfers, they've looked okay in pre-season. I've caught a few of the highlights of their games against United. They played well. They lost to Roma yesterday, and even then, when I caught the highlights, they had some great chances. They should have probably beaten them, but I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be typical Everton that if they do struggle there. Did you have any other hot takes off the top of your head, or did you just settle on that one in the end? Don't worry if
I'll go with one that didn't happen last year for me. Nuno to be the first Premier League manager sacked this year.
I could maybe see it.
Yeah, I just think
if he's stinking out the gaff during pre-season, add European football into that.
Yeah, Marinakis is just
tomorrow
a wanker, isn't he? Let's be honest. So,
do we find out about their European?
That's how they'll announce it, won't they?
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
In a statement
yeah,
of ambition.
Yeah, it's tomorrow, and
We're demoted to the Conference League, so Nuno's sacked. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And I know you've been on. I know you've both been on the overlap, but I know Dave more so recently. The Forest fan I think he's a nice guy. He seems all right when he's been on those shows before, but I think he come across appallingly on the last one, on the fan debate, and he was just like, "Well, it's the rules, mate." It's like, come on,
They've broken every rule
where's
going to stay where they are,
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, exactly. But it's like they've actively cheated by breaking the rules of overspending and all that sort of stuff. And from a Palace point of view, John Textor having shares or not in a football club does not impact Crystal Palace winning the FA Cup or not. It's just bollocks. So I hope Palace get what they deserve.
The worst bit about that is John Textor and Marinakis having such a mad relationship since. I think it was probably there beforehand, but the fact that they're doing so many dodgy deals since then is crazy, really.
I think it's John Textor twerking for him. I think he's like, we'll do all this stuff here, but like just drop the case. But yeah, I think I don't know how we got into Palace at this point, but hopefully the news is good and they get the Europa League spot, because imagine that happened to us, you'd be fuming, wouldn't you? It's just about, they've won the FA Cup, they deserve that spot, and anything to do with John Textor having shares or not does not impact what happens on a football pitch. I'm sorry.
Did you see, very quickly sticking on that subject? Did you see? I think it was Matt Turner. Did he leave Forest on a permanent to join Lyon? And then
they loaned him out, didn't they, to an American
Lyon
side?
never announced that signing on their social medias anywhere. That's bad, really, isn't it? So,
well, there's obviously stuff going on, and like, you've got Forest fans trying to say, yeah, there's nothing dodgy going on. Like
that screams it, like, if you got like you're selling it, it's not even being announced on the thing. Yeah,
it's a disgrace. But anyway, we digress.
Yeah. Finn, what do you reckon? Your hot take?
I still haven't actually firmed one. I was literally just looking at the table now, the teams that are in. I was thinking something really hot on Leeds to be really bad, or maybe a positive one on Man United, because then if they are, at least I've got something right. But I'm going to go Salah to get less than 10 for a laugh.
Less than 10 goals.
I
could see that. I could see that being a universe that happens, because I mean, it's easy to
just
say
he's got 10 pens guaranteed.
Oh yeah, true.
At least, but
I think 10's ridiculous. Like, I accept he could have a quite easy drop off.
But you see,
10 is...
whenever he's played for Liverpool, they've never really had he's never really had good. I don't know, like a proper forward around him and stuff. And I think now they've got Ekatike. I think Wirtz will step up. If the signees
if he's up pens,
I think they'll take some of the goals and contributions away from him.
Or could I pivot it to like 8 non-pen goal? Stick
with the 10, man. I like that.
Firm it.
Yeah, you said, don't let me. It's a hot take. I think it's a bad take.
No,
did Sterling?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Did
but
Sterling stink up the gap when you mentioned him a few years ago?
Yeah, I said less than 7, and he got 2, didn't he? So it didn't actually look that crazy, or was it?
Yeah,
was
exactly.
It was something like that. But...
Would you take Sterling, Finn, if he came up as an option on loan? No,
Imagine.
I'd snap your arm off for someone like Sterling. Not that I think he'd work at Wolves, and like the attitude.
No, it wouldn't work. But yeah.
No, and he needed 4 sitters a game to score 1, and we don't get 1 in a game.
Just had someone tweet me saying that we should go for Højlund and Grealish. I mean, again, I'll probably take that.
I had that conversation yesterday about Grealish. You take Grealish in a heartbeat, but he's never coming to Wolves.
He's what it is.
He would take it.
Mine's boring. I'm just going to go the 3 teams that came up. We're going to go back down again. Gives me a little bit of satisfaction that Wolves stay in the Premier League. But I don't get this Sunderland love fest at the moment. I still think their team is so subpar.
How close do you reckon we'll get to the... That was one of mine one year, wasn't it? The beat every promoted team home and away, and then in the first game...
Leeds always shaft us, don't they? So I think Burnley, we always seem to drop points. Leeds shaft
Sunderland,
us.
I can't remember last time. Yeah. Last time we played Sunderland, was it when they battered us on the final day, when they got relegated and we got promoted?
Yeah. Didn't they beat us at home that year as well? Or was it 0-0? They were awful that season. I think they beat either 0-0 or they beat us 1-0.
It was 0-0. It was 0-0 at Molineux, wasn't it? I think they had about less than 20% possession.
Yeah, that was it. It was an awful game of football, that was.
And you were on the Netflix doc, weren't you, Dave?
In the background. It was just me.
Yeah,
my little purple super dry top. I remember that. Those are the days. But no, that's all. That's our prediction. So let us know your thoughts as well if you're watching on YouTube, and you can comment. Drop your comments on those, so that your top scorer, your most assists, your Wolves final league position, you're banned from saying the bottom 3. We just want positive vibes in the comment section, and one Premier League hot take as well. We'll move on to the questions now. We had loads of questions again, a lot of them, unfortunately, very doom and gloom, which we will talk about some of them. We'll start off with some positive questions, though. Someone asked, how big's my chopper? And I thought, that's probably not appropriate for the podcast, to be honest. So we're not going to answer that one.
Big.
Sam Clover, have any of you tried Matt's food recipes and supplies? What's it like? I have, actually. And they are very good. He was meant to sort me out some new curry spices last time I saw him, and he never came. He forgot them.
Yeah, I was meant to get an order off him. I was meant to put an order in with him to get him when we were at the Desi for the Lens game, but I forgot to send him the message, and it's actually reminded me now because I saw he's got the spicy tikka mix out now, and I'm like, that's up my street. I definitely want to try a bit of that.
I tried the butter chicken curry, which is very good, and the tikka spice mix as well. And they're so easy to do. Like, I'm dreadful at cooking, but they're so easy. Yeah. It's really nice as well. So
I haven't, but my locals just closed down the curry, so I might.
They do taste good, to be fair. Matt, if you want to sponsor the podcast now, you've gone as well, mate. Feel free.
Have we got a code?
There we go. Yeah, mate. We'll have to get a code.
Not everyone else, just for me.
Yeah, I thought we had got one of them, isn't it? The whole boy set.
People will definitely be trying that as well. GGG24 at Wolves of Prem is called. What's your McDonald's order? Weirdly, I was at McDonald's yesterday after the game, and I keep going for the they're doing like a £5 meal deal now. So basically, get a cheeseburger or mayo chicken, chicken nuggets, obviously medium fries, and a drink your choice. So I went with that, and I keep going with a Lotus Biscoff iced frappe at the moment. It's good. Or I just go with a sweet chili chicken wrap meal normally. So, Jord, are you a McDonald's fan?
Yeah, I mean, I do like it, but I try and avoid it as much as possible because I've got one literally on the ring road by me as well, and it's dangerous, especially if you've had a few beers. But 5 chicken selects is my go-to be honest with you. I moved on to them a few years ago, and I've not looked back, to be honest with you. It's very rare these days I have a Big Mac, which is probably sacrilege, but...
Yeah, I don't do Big Macs much.
Chicken selects.
Yeah,
chicken selects for me.
Finn?
I used to be chicken selects. I'd say for the last couple of years, I just go for whatever the limited edition burger is at the time or whatever. Or at lunchtime, me and Jem often do the wrap of the day and then share like whatever the sharer is of like the garlic bites or the ones that are on at the moment. Is it the chili cheese one?
Yeah,
they're unreal for 2 wraps.
Those spicy nuggets at the moment as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not bad. God, it sounds like I go all the time, which I probably do. But there was what was the recent wrap? There was a fajita. They've just started a fajita one. That was nice. But yeah, whatever's new. We had, what was that one we had, Dave, once before the sleep out? Was it the steakhouse stack? Was it or something?
Mate, that was
on at the
ago,
time.
man.
That was,
I can't remember.
Yeah, that was so good before.
The Cat 2 chicken wrap I had as well, which is quite nice recently. I used to like the garlic mayo wrap, but they've stopped doing that. So I'll just go with the sweet chili one now if I ever have a wrap. But I genuinely, I very rarely eat McDonald's, but like you said, it sounds like I'm with some sort of connoisseurs here. So, right. So yeah, there's a lot of negative questions. We will try and go through some. Sam Hunt, realistically, how many games do you think Vitor would get before the crowd could turn? So again, before ballers even kicked in the Premier League, so it's very hard to answer some of these questions, to be fair. But Jord, I still think an element of this, like obviously, I think in terms of the recruitment and how the team shaped up, I think Fosun have to take the majority of the blame. But ultimately, I still think you want to see an element of performance from the team, and that will be down to Vitor. So, I mean, if performances don't start to go well and Wolves are really struggling, it could easily be sort of by game week 5 or 6 if Wolves are still down there and struggling. Especially like I mentioned earlier with some of the fixtures that we've got. Football is very fickle. Things could change quickly. So you don't want to speculate about things like this, I suppose. But, things will turn very quickly, especially considering what's happened in the summer.
I think the question's a little bit loaded because I think it's got to a point now where fans wouldn't turn on a manager at this point. I think it would all be at the owners because, we've seen, Nuno didn't get backed at times when he should have got backed. Bruno Lage could have been backed at one point, didn't get backed. Gary O'Neill, as much as I thought he was way out of his depth, should have been backed, I think, more so in that January than he did because we could have had a different season. Lopetegui, I think he did enough to want to kick on. I think he did a good job for Wolves. Whatever other people think is another thing. But yeah, he did throw his toys out of the pram afterwards. But it's more so like there's a repeatable thing now where Fosun just haven't backed the managers. So I genuinely do think it could turn very, very quickly. As much as like the third game of the season, forgot who we've got now. Who we got at home. Is it Leeds? The third game of the
Leeds.
season.
Yeah, Leeds.
Like, I think if
Everton.
two
Sorry,
negative,
I think it's Everton.
Everton, that's it. Yeah, I knew it was someone.
Leeds
sort
are
of
only in a
awareness,
few weeks though, as well. I think.
Yeah. So I think, put it like this, I think if we lose the first two games, going into that Everton game, I think it could. If it hasn't already turned nasty, I think it could already. I think it will turn then, and I think it'll be at the ownership more so than the manager. But yeah, I think it could quite easily turn very quickly down there.
Yeah, there's a question as well in regards to how can we survive. It feels like it's the worst we've looked for a Premier League's pre-season. That was from SJM84. So I was trying to get the team up. Someone was bringing up that team we had under Bruno Lage, 2022. And Wolves lost that game 2-1 in the end. We went 1-0 up under Daniel Podence. But the Wolves team, just for
front forward.
Yeah. If I read out the Wolves team, so it was a back four. It was Jose Sarr, Aït-Nouri, Kilman, Collins, Johnny, Dendoncker and Neves, Neto, Gibbs, White, Podence and Hwang. The bench was Chem Campbell, Sarkic, Mosquera, Bolly, Cody, Connor Ronan, Luke Kundal, Joe Hodge, and Hugo Bueno. That's a worse team, in my opinion. That's a worse team than what we've got now in terms of even. I don't think the 11's much better than what we've got now, to be completely honest. So
I'd agree with that. I don't think it's as bad as that, but it's pretty bad. It's more for the fact of it's like the inadequacy at this point, isn't it? It's how can we've been here for 8 seasons now. How can we be in a position where you're thinking, if you got competent owners, you shouldn't be in a position. And again, I'll use competent owners loosely because I think they've done. I'm very balanced on Fosun. I think they've done a lot of good, but I think you can throw shit at them as well for things where they get it wrong. And I think the competency piece right now, it's proof in the pudding. I think have we only won like one game in August in 25, is it, or 24? Since we've been
again,
back.
I don't think that's entirely on Fosun though, either. In my opinion, I think we've had strong teams even starting the season in the second campaign as well. Yeah, you want your I think with better transfers, and if you're proactive in the transfer market and your team is ready, you probably will get more wins in that.
No, I do agree with that. I'd like to say, it's caveated with, that second season we were up, even the first season, that was a good team. We had that, when we got Patricio and Moutinho in and Troy and whatever, Jimenez. So that was a good team. But I think the frustration is from fans is that we're already finding it hard to compete at the level that some of the fans think we should be at. And I think some of the fans still think we should be competing for a top 10 finish. For me, I think we'll do well to come top 12. I think we have to have a very good season to come top 12 this year. But it's almost like you've almost, as owners, you should put your asset in the best possible place to succeed. And certainly the last few transfer windows and certainly the last few Augusts going into Premier League seasons, we haven't put our best foot forward and we haven't been as prepared or got the resources that we should have got in, is what I would say.
Go back to very quickly, to what I said about that team. Although I say yes, I think that is a weaker squad than what we've got now. That was the season where Bruno Lage was sacked, and ultimately we finished. He was sacked and we were awful up until the World Cup. So, I will add that, to be fair.
The World Cup saved us that season.
Massively. A lot of people, obviously, very doom and gloom. Trying to see if there's any other sort of productive question. Oh, this is a good one. Adam Fellows, who's your pick for the captaincy? João Gomez or Doc? We've also seen Totti Gomez have the armband. Jose Sarr had the armband as well. Finn. I mean, I don't think anyone sort of stood out for me as such. I think it's going to be Doc or Totti for me, I think.
Yeah, I thought the João Gomez one was a strange one. Not that he seems to lead by example more than come across as a leader. And even in small things like, obviously, he suffers with, ironically, he suffers with a stammer. And even teams, I know it's a small thing, but team talks, it would be a tough one to put that pressure on him. And equally, our captains always leave, don't they, shortly after? And I'd like João to stick around. So Yeah,
Give it to Wang.
it'll be one of the people in the back three. He's not going to start every week because I'd like to see Mosquera introduced eventually. So maybe Totti, but I can't say I've seen sort of leadership qualities from him either. So there's no obvious one. I think since Neves there hasn't been an obvious captain in the team, has there really at all throughout the years? So I'm sort of fine with any of them at the back. Neither are convincing, but there's nowhere else. I don't think. Who's Doc's probably the oldest by far in the team, isn't he?
Most experienced and oldest. I would say. I mean, Agbadou's pretty experienced. I'm surprised he's not had the armband at all, has he, Agbadou? Or Manetzi?
No.
Strange. He's obviously going with the players that have been around the place a little bit longer, I suppose. So it'll be very interesting. Maybe by the end of the week with the press conference, or obviously first game of the next season. I think he's got to decide by Saturday, hasn't he? Really, you don't want to be swapping and changing that first few weeks of the campaign, do you? So I suppose we'll wait and see. I think that's all for today, lads. Don't know if there's anything else that you boys want to add, but that is probably all. It's been a good discussion. I think, thankfully, it's been fairly positive, or as positive as we can be, to be fair. And hopefully a lot of fans listening to this take a little bit more encouragement from it, because in the comment section yesterday, all of my social media, like I said, it has been very doom and gloom. So hopefully we can take a little bit of encouragement. The season starts next week. It's not already kicked off. So, next Saturday, hopefully we can back the boys. Hopefully it's a really good tribute to the lives of Diogo Jota and Andre Silva before kickoff. Hopefully that helps us, on the pitch as well. And appreciate your support all over the summer. And hopefully we can have a successful season together as well. If you're listening on YouTube, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, be sure to leave us a 5-star review. Remember, the top of the description is the link to join Betmate if you haven't already. A lot of you may already be part of it, so dust off your accounts and get involved again. Jord, where can people find you if they wish?
At Jord7 on Twitter or Instagram.
Brilliant, thank you, mate. And Finn, what about you?
Finners everywhere, FINERRZ. Just to be clear, I am probably a lot more negative than Dave on this, but I don't normally tweet my thoughts anyway, so I'll keep them internal. And I'm going to keep Haaland as the captain, I think, and we'll go from there.
Oh, brilliant! Week. Yeah.
Sorry, we shouldn't have ended on that. Go on, Dave. Give us something positive.
No, I'm at
right wing back.
I'm at Dave as a party everywhere. We're at Talking Walls everywhere, and Walls are going to win 1-0 next week. There you go. No, but be sure to check out all the socials. We have loads of content still coming up, whether it's fantasy Premier League related, transfer related, and obviously the match preview as well later on this week on the YouTube as well. But guys, look after yourselves. Enjoy your week. Fingers crossed next week we'll be talking about a positive result and performance against Manchester City. But until then, look after yourselves, and we'll catch you on the next one.